The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you...
What are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
Join us for a journey of the mind on Psychic Spring on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show.
Salutations. This is T. Fox Dunham, one of the hosts and producers at What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show. This is episode 80, Life After Life. Yes, 80 episodes. We begin spring with our special feature of psychic guests called Psychic Spring. Our first guest is Carolyn Clapper, whom Phil and I interview in just a little bit. Carolyn Clapper is considered an evidential medium, psychic, and medical intuit. There are very few who have her abilities to work in all fields of this metaphysical realm with her accuracy. Carolyn has worked with the police and detectives on unsolved crimes and missing persons, doctors, hospitals, and individuals with medical mysteries. You know, when doctors can't figure out what's wrong. She comes in with amazing accuracy and helps them figure out the problem. She can also connect with the spirit and bring you comfort from those you've lost. Her website is www.thenextworldmedium.com. And now on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show, episode 80, taken from a quote from Carolyn, Life After Life for Psychic Spring. This is Carolyn Clapper. So this is What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Fox. How are you?
I'm alright. Got my coffee.
Got your coffee?
Got my Irish mug.
It's
I'm good.
Good. I got my Monster energy drink.
Yeah, Monster Energy. Yeah. Malcolm's here.
Malcolm's there.
Malcolm's here. Alright, he's always here.
Looks like you're in the festive season of St. Patrick's Day right here with your...
That's exactly why I got the mug.
With your green shamrock
mug. Look at that. I don't think
nice.
the kids at home can't see it, but no. But yeah, my little coffee mug, because coffee's so Irish.
I know it is. Is that Irish coffee you're drinking?
If only.
Specifically?
Nah. No liquor this week. Yeah, no liquor this week.
These are the fun headphones that just fall out constantly, by the way.
Alright, so expect a professional performance.
Yeah.
But we're nothing if not professional.
Expect them to just fall out every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we got.
I was being interviewed. I was just watching this. It was like a show.
We got Carolyn saying that we're entertaining. We're
That's good.
We can go home now.
That's right.
Good night, everyone.
Hey.
No, wait. There's something. We were supposed to do something.
Yes,
right. An interview.
Interview Carolyn.
Carolyn Clapper. She's a medium.
Yes.
She's also she's what she calls herself an evidential medium, which is interesting. Evidentially, she's an evidential medium, and she's a psychic and a medical intuit. And I saw that. I first read she's a medical Inuit. Oh, she's from Alaska.
I know.
No,
almost. I'm from Wisconsin, so that's kind of close.
It could be Alaska.
Alaska.
Yeah. It's been like Alaska around here lately.
I know.
Yeah.
Look
It's
out,
snowing
snow
now
everywhere.
here. It's ridiculous.
Is it? It's snowing north of us. We missed it this time.
It slipped by us this time.
Yeah.
We weren't so lucky the last 2 times where it just hit us head on every time. So,
Right.
This winter won't end, so.
Yeah. It's been harsh, and we're hoping to get to the shore. We're jonesing for the shore, the seaside.
I can't wait.
For sure.
It's warm enough as soon as it's warm enough.
But thank you for being on the show, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thank you for
being
having me.
here.
And I can see from your outfit you're wearing a crystal necklace of some kind. Yeah, what is that?
I'm wearing turquoise. It's
Turquoise.
from Boulder, Colorado, and
Okay.
it's awesome. It's my favorite turquoise right now.
You get a good energy from it?
It's called Boulder turquoise, obviously. And there's not a whole lot of turquoise in it. Most of it is rock. It's mostly the boulders surrounding the turquoise, so the little veins in it are the turquoise. I just wear it because I love it. But turquoise actually has a lot of benefits. I mean, for protection and whatnot. Oh, this one doesn't have the line through it. It has the little spots. But anyways, it actually is said, okay, so I found this out later after wearing turquoise and being told what the benefits were psychically. I was first given a ring with some very pure turquoise. I think it was called Dove's Egg turquoise. And somebody had given that to me before an event that I did that brought in over 100 people to this event. It was the first event that I had done, and I was really nervous. And he said, here, why don't you wear this to your event? And I put it on, and during the event, I was really nervous at first, had all these nerves, thought, oh my God, I'm going to bomb this. Like, there's no way that I'm going to get through this. It was supposed to be capped at 25 people, and over 100 people came. So I was very intimidated.
Wow. Especially for your first time, right? That was
for the first time, and I was just really scared, and they had cameras going and all this stuff.
Oh boy!
And I got on stage, and they had this little stage set up for me, and I was going, oh God, I'd asked for no stage. I said, I don't want a mic, I don't want a stage, but of course, people needed to be able to hear me.
Right, that's important.
Yeah. So finally, I just said, okay. I just gave myself to God and Spirit, and I just said, okay, I'm yours. Use me. And once I just kind of gave in and thought either this is going to be amazing or it's going to fail. And whatever happens for a reason. I'm supposed to learn from it. Once I just centered myself and calmed down, everything went well. And all these people on the other side started coming through to me, right?
I love that. She knows how to give up control.
Right.
That's a huge part of this. That's a huge part of this is letting go of your ego. Okay. The thing that snags any person up, right, from knowing the truth of anything in life is their own ego. And that's my most solid advice for anybody, that's not a medium or a psychic, just anyone. Shed your ego and you'll get so much more from life because you'll start hearing what Spirit, what God, what the universe is trying to tell you. And you'll stop getting in front of yourself or ahead of yourself. Anyways, so I stopped getting in front of myself that day, and I'm wearing this ring. And I think, well, I'm just going to do my thing. So I start walking around, and I'm touching people, and I'm talking to people, and I'm bringing through their loved ones. And then I realized, I looked down, and the turquoise had popped out of my ring. Just completely, it was gone. Okay. And so I was bummed because I had just gotten this ring. And, moving forward after the event, I had spoke to somebody and they said, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen with turquoise when you wear it. If negative spirits come through and try to attack you, then the turquoise will pop out. It'll break. Instead of hurting you, instead of hurting your soul, instead of hurting you, instead of hurting your soul, it will pop out or it'll crack. It's like a barrier for negativity, I guess. So this is an old Native American belief. And, someone intuitively gave me a piece of jewelry to protect me in this space, and it actually did. So it was pretty cool.
Well, that's neat,
I never got it fixed. I just kept it, broken. And
you haven't always been a medium. When did you acquire this ability?
So I knew that I had it in 2011 after I came out of having meningitis. So I got really, really sick in 2011 and I crossed over to the other side while I was ill, and I went into that next world. Okay. So I was like right on right on the edge of dying. I had 2 strains of meningitis. I was in Frederick Hospital over here in Milwaukee. And yeah, the fact that I'm here at all is amazing. The fact that I'm not missing any limbs and that I'm not brain dead, etc., in itself is amazing. When I was in there, my heartbeat was down to about 31 beats a minute. They were just kind of, at one point, they were just making me comfortable. I had the morphine and everything, and I rejected it. I started rejecting it because I couldn't feel my body. And it's hard to fight when you can't feel yourself. Right. So I was trying to kind of feel my body and try to fight on my own mind over matter kind of thing. But at the same time, I knew that, that I might cross over. And I started to kind of have a peace with that. When I stepped over to the other side, there was a committee of people, if you will. So I didn't see Jesus. I didn't see, wings and halos. But I saw a whole choir of people standing in front of me, if you will. And there was one speaker for all of them. And she stood in front. And I remember just saying to her, please let me stay for my son. At the time, my son was really small. And I was going through a divorce, and I thought, I need to be here for him. He doesn't have anybody else. The woman who was standing in front just looked at me, and she kind of looked at the people on either side of her, and they started talking. I couldn't understand what they said. And then she said, if you do this work for us, and I said, yes. And they all went through into a big ball of white light and went up my feet and all the way through my head, and I was healed.
When you revived, did you still have the affliction?
I didn't actually die, so it wasn't like I had revived from death. I was over in that next side. Like I said, I was borderline cardiac arrest for a couple of days. I was over there, but I was also still here. Okay. It's kind of like being
you were in between the worlds then. Yeah.
Right. I knew I wasn't dead, but I also knew I wasn't in my body, if that makes any sense. Okay?
Makes sense.
Like having an outer body experience, right. Okay? And so, yes, when I came back into myself, I was completely well. So it baffled the doctors. I had the neurologist in there and everything, and they had the lights on, which is, if you've ever had meningitis or know of the disease, it's very hard to have lights on or to focus or to have conversations. When I went in, everything was like alphabet soup that I was saying. I couldn't speak because your spine and your brain swell. Yeah. You have so much fluid and stuff, and, it causes so much damage. But I was able to speak clearly and, and just communicate really well. And so they were baffled, and they said, the first thing they asked me, the doctor, the neurologist, after testing me, he said, so I heard that your mother told you that you had meningitis. When you came in and you were in the ER, you told the ER nurse that you had meningitis after 8 hours of being in there. So basically, moving backwards, when I had come into the ER, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me for 8 hours. And I couldn't talk without dry heaving, and words were not coming out right. And I eventually was able to say meningitis because my mom had brought it to me in a dream before I came there. So he said, your mom told you, where is she? And that's when I told him that she was crossed over. So she was actually passed over when she told me what I had before I went to the hospital. And I didn't know what meningitis was. But I told the doctors, and they tapped my spine, and it came back positive. So.
Wow.
So had she not come to me in spirit and told me that, then I wouldn't be here either. It was just a whole chain of events that don't make sense for this realm. It doesn't make logical sense.
Well, it was meant to be,
Yeah.
You're here for a reason.
Right. That's when I knew that what I had seen, okay, but I didn't know that I was a medium until a few weeks later when I was recovering and home. A girlfriend of mine called from years ago, and I was in the bathtub. Don't ask me why I answered. I have no idea. I just hadn't talked to her in a long time. So I answered the phone, and while she was talking to me, her grandma took me over, basically. I saw her grandma. I started seeing my friend Anne. She was sitting in her living room, and I started seeing her it's like I saw her behind my eyes. I saw her environment. I saw her sitting on her couch. I could see her smelling this pink hat and burying her face in it, and she was crying. And I'm wondering why I'm getting all these images, right? And I asked her, I said, are you okay, And then I told her what I was seeing, and she started crying. And she's like, are you kidding me? And I said, no. And I said, your grandma's telling me that you're smelling her hat because you miss her, that you hold her hat to your face all the time and you miss her, and it's the pink hat because she had cancer. Well, anyways, so they start telling me, what happened, and, just communicated for a good hour while I'm sitting there in the tub. And they had this conversation. I brought through all the information for her. And at the end of the conversation, I just dropped the phone, and all of a sudden I was kind of back in my senses, if you will. It was like I was back owning myself again. And I dropped the phone, and I was just, my backwater had gone cold. I was freezing and shaking and had no idea what had happened. And that was the turning point for me, where I knew I was speaking with people from the other side, that I was bringing through messages. And I didn't know how much control I had or didn't have. It was frightening, actually. It was very frightening. I went immediately to the doctors and asked for evaluations. I wanted psychological evaluations. I wanted to see if the meningitis had done something to my brain. So I got evaluated by psychologists and doctors, and I got the clear on all of them. And every time I sat with them, their loved ones would come through in the office, and they'd get a reading. And then they wouldn't know what to say.
Well, you should have charged them. You should have charged them, yes.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Do you know what I like about that story, too, in the beginning, was after, by committee.
Right.
I like that a lot.
Right.
The idea that it's a group of people.
Yeah.
And they all have to sort of, have a get into the dugout and talk about what they want to do with you.
Right.
Because, I could make a case.
Yeah.
I think I have before. I could make a case for life. And it sounds like she did.
Yeah.
Wonderful story and extraordinary and heroin.
What's even funnier? Before that, I was having visions over there before that whole incident happened with the committee. I was having visions of people. Okay, so before that, in the hospital still while I was sick, and I was over there, and I saw this kitchen that everybody was hanging out in, and it looked like mustard yellow and 70s style, and I was like, man, isn't it supposed to be beautiful over here?
Yeah, the afterlife needs to renovate.
Granite? Don't they have granite and stainless steel? What's going on?
Well, very gothic and yeah.
Ghostly Retaliation, written by Kerri Thomas, author of The Haunting of a Family. From her website, crankyhag.com, read by David Walton. We used to have a nurse that worked with us. She was the most dissatisfied person. She schmoozed up to the DON, Director of Nurses, a good bit, at least, to us. She always seemed to have a little dirt on the tip of her nose. It paid off in her favour, though. As indecisive as she was, the DON frequently catered to this nurse's demands. When she wanted day shift, she got day. She switched to evening, to part-time, to full-time, back to part, and then to graveyard shift. When the DON gave her graveyard shift hours, I confronted them. She was giving her my hours, so I had every intention of getting in their faces. The administrator laughed and told me not to worry. That nurse will change her mind again in the next couple of weeks. Just enjoy the time off, she offered with a laugh. If it goes any further than that, I will intervene. The result was that my hours were cut from 4 days a week, 32 hours, to only 2 days a week, or 16 hours. Anne and Lavada, two of my CNAs, overheard me walking down the hall one night talking to myself. "What are you saying?" Lavada asked with a chuckle. "I'm telling the ghosties to scare the hell out of that nurse who is trying to steal my hours," I explained. Now they were both laughing. They thought it funny, and even shared my scheme to the new nurse, who expressed she was not afraid of ghosts. Indeed, she looked forward to working with the staff on the upcoming weekend. She was scheduled to work a 4-day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, on graveyard shift. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but the DON had to eat crow when she called and asked me to come in and work Monday and Tuesday nights as her buddy. The brown-noser had called in and would not be coming back again. This was the third time in a year that she had quit working there. When I came in Monday night, I demanded the girls give me the skinny. I wanted to know what happened. "I don't know. Ask Anne," answered Geraldine, who had been working the weekend with Anne and the new nurse. "All I know is, last night she said she was not coming back." Anne, still laughing and trying to catch her breath, explained, "The ghosts, they ran her off." "How do you know that?" I asked, equally amused. "Because she kept hearing Shirley walking the halls," Anne explained. Shirley was a past patient at the nursing home who, on quiet nights, could still be heard as she walked down the hall to the nurse's desk. She used to rearrange the magazine rack and continued to do so even in death. It was so frequent the administration had to remove the magazine rack because it frightened many of the patients, staff and family who witnessed magazines floating of their own accord back to their place on the shelf. Secretly thanking the ghost, I asked, "Did Shirley walk up to her?" "No, I don't think so," Anne continued. "We could just hear her walking the halls the entire night. Shirley was in full swing. But I do think one of the ghosts did touch her, because at one point the nurse yelled and jumped up from her chair at the desk, and no one was there but her." Laughing with her, Geraldine added, "Didn't she say that one time she was being followed when she walked down to the other nurse's desk?" Anne nodded and said with a laugh, "She complained of that all night. She said a few times she felt like she was being followed. Good job, Michelle. She's not coming back." I didn't like working with ghostly spirits, but I knew they were there. I didn't deny their existence or belittle their ghostly hauntings. Whenever I think about that weekend, I always wonder if it were a coincidence of the increased paranormal activity, or did the spirit world help me out? I'm still on the fence with the answer. If you enjoyed this ghost story, please check out the author's book on Amazon.com, The Haunting of a Family by Kerri Thomas, and her website www.thecrankyhag.com for more of her stories.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output.
My name is Greg Bakken. I'm a writer, a producer, and a paranormal investigator. My favorite way of communicating with spirits is through using the spirit box, also known as a ghost box. I invite you to listen to me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central for interviews with people in the paranormal community and beyond. Plus, I will also include as much of my spirit box evidence as I can during my show. My name is Greg. Can you say Greg? Can you say Jeff? Greg. Jeff. Join me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central Time for Minnesota Ghost Box, only on ParaX Radio.
Well, you are considered, as you call yourself, an evidential medium, psychic, and medical intuit. So what does that mean exactly?
Right. So an evidential medium, at first I did not take on any title or label, as I don't really like them because I feel like they box you in. And then I feel like it's harder to escape any kind of label that people give to you. But eventually I had to take on something. So these are the ones that I adhered to so far. They may change, but evidential medium means a medium who brings to hard evidence of people's loved ones, whether they're missing, evidence that leads police to find the missing person, or whether it means objects, way of death, activities in your life that you're doing now. It's basically when someone comes through and gives you proof, undeniable proof that they're still in your life watching you. Because how would I know some of these things? They may give future events. There's been times where people have come through and predicted their daughters to become pregnant at such and such date through me, and then they are, and they call me up freaking out because they didn't want to be pregnant. And they're blaming me for being pregnant. Like, I did not show up in your room, I promise.
Are you trying to tell me something? Because if you tell me before my wife does, she's going to come to Wisconsin.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it's when people can give you hard evidence, basically. I'm someone who demands evidence. I'm very, very skeptical by nature. So, if it were me going to a medium or a psychic, I would want them to prove it to me somehow. So I really push myself for proof.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like going in blind. Only that means not knowing anything, knowing who people want to be in touch with, knowing what they want to know. I ask people to just write down a few questions on paper and bring it along with them and not show me. And about 99% of the time, those questions are answered before they have an opportunity to ask at the end. So it's just more, in my opinion, that's more.
I'm sorry, we just said we don't need to interview then. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Exactly. It's already, in fact, you guys have people with you too. Everyone does, everybody has people with them.
It's comforting.
Yeah.
It's very comforting.
Yeah, I was getting somebody for you, a female.
Oh boy.
Before I came, before we sat together, I was getting female energy for you, and I don't want to put you on the spot. I know I'd kind of like mentioned it to you in text and just said,
No,
hey.
I have to confess, I'm very curious, and we're authors, so we're used to putting ourselves out there.
Okay, so can I just throw this out there?
Yeah, throw it out.
I've had somebody, okay, so without going into a complete reading, because then you're stuck with me for a lot longer than 10 more minutes or whatever.
Yeah, but, we can't afford you, so.
No. So I was getting a female energy probably around age 60. Does this resonate for you?
Maybe my grandmother.
Okay. Give me one moment, please.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me 1 second. Does the 5th month mean anything to you? May?
Maybe when my mother was born.
Okay. So I'm getting some things for you. I feel like so I don't want to give too much information.
Well, that's fine.
Over this because I'll start getting real in depth about things. But I do want to talk to you afterwards about this. If you have a little bit of time, I'm more than happy to go into a reading with you for a short, short reading with you. She's talking about a wedding. Was there a recent wedding? Did you just get married, like within the last 2 years?
Almost 3.
Okay, so it's 2 years. It has not reached the 3-year mark yet.
Pretty
correct?
much there, yeah.
Well, come on, semantics, okay? Was it more of like a Celtic type wedding?
We were married in Scotland.
Okay, so that makes sense. So
I took her home.
The Celtic type wedding. They were giving me a Celtic ring, actually. Did one of you have a Celtic ring made?
I have a beautiful Celtic wedding ring that I'm not wearing at the moment because I have edema in my fingers, but yes, I do.
Oh, okay, wonderful. It looks really beautiful to me, and it just looks like it's handmade, Like there was a lot of thought put into this ceremony and the wedding rings, and your loved ones who are crossed over were with you, and I can get more into detail with you later about that because things get real personal real quick with me. Right. And I know once I go there, because they're already... Okay, so is your mom crossed?
She is, yes.
Okay, that's who it is, because that's who I'm getting. You just said it could have been your mom's birthday, but I'm going, okay, I know he's trying to tell me that she's alive, but this is who it is for you, okay?
My mother died about 8 days
just
before.
really quick, don't tell me anything.
Okay,
See,
right.
I start to be a rude jerk when I'm giving readings, so now you got that on here. Hey. Shut people up, so sorry about that. 3 children total. Does she have 3 children?
Yes, she did.
Just give me 1 second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, would this have been... I feel like there's... You said her birthday was in May, because she keeps giving me the 2 months. Would that be her crossing or her birthday? Or was it one and the same?
It was, I don't want to give you too much information, because you...
No, just that. Was the crossing like 2 months from now?
Yeah.
2 month mark?
Yeah, pretty much.
So she keeps giving me the 2, and she's saying 2 months, but then I'm not understanding. Just give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a second. Yeah, I keep getting the month of May, and she's talking about the 2 month mark. So, and you said that was her birthday, but I'm getting it as her crossing. Am I wrong?
Pretty much. No, she, do you want to know?
Well, yeah, I'm asking you this.
My mother passed...
I'm getting that she had a longer illness. Did she have cancer?
No, I have cancer.
Okay, that's the cancer reference. I apologize.
That's fine.
I'm very sorry.
No. See, it's all over the internet, so it doesn't matter. I don't mind, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then you don't have to edit them.
No.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, well, here's the deal. If you want to edit this out, that's fine. I can go in later for you if you'd like to, and I can give you... I don't know if you're even interested in doing this, but I'd be happy to do it for you because she's here now. If you want me to go through you, I know this is going to sound really weird, but I can go through you, okay, medically. I have a staff of 5 people that I work with, okay? So it would be your mom leading it, but also 5 people who are way, way smarter than I am, okay? And they go through you and they can tell you what's going on exactly with your body.
Well, that's very nice. It's always nice to have comfort especially when you're facing a long illness.
He doesn't want to go, by the way, so I'm just kind of pushing this out. That's why I never do readings on air, because I start to get bombarded and it will take over. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. Right.
She doesn't want to leave, though, and she keeps saying that she missed out on things. I'm so sorry. I have to go back to this. See, once I open it, I can't help it. You're going to have to edit. So she's talking about the birth of a child. Was there a boy, a baby boy?
Probably my brother's kid. It was her great-grandson.
Okay. She just wants them to know that she was there for that birth, okay? We can get into detail about the birth later as well. I can let you know what happened and who was there and whatnot, okay? So I'll try, and I'm just letting her know that we'll come back to this when we're done with the interview, so that all of your business is not online.
Okay, well, tell Mom we'll put a pin in it.
Okay, well, we'll come back to her very shortly. Okay.
About reincarnation, have you ever been unable to contact a departed spirit because they are no longer on the other side and have already been reborn?
Well, that's an interesting question, because no, I have not ever had that issue.
Okay.
So I know that some people do come back. Okay. Because I've been told that.
Okay.
It's not even about my belief system. It's just what I've been told.
Right.
So some people just have to do a redo.
Right.
Is what they told me that they're called. They're just a redo.
So who told you that specifically?
I've been told multiple times. So it's
from the other side or from people on Earth? I say it's more valid then if they told you. Yeah.
Right. Because I also work in like unsolved homicide cases with families and things, missing persons cases. And there's a lot of horrendous things that happen in this world. And sometimes people just don't learn. Yeah. And they don't do the work here that they're meant to do. And sometimes they just kick back around. It's like being recycled. So
right.
I've gotten that before. I've been told that. But everyone that I've gone in to talk to thus far has come through, knock on wood. But, sometimes people take a little bit longer to come through than others. But if you're patient, then, and everyone has a different language over there in a way. You just have to establish that connection. And once you establish it, it's like you're having a conversation like we are now. It's just free flowing.
Wow.
It's a different way of talking. It's a different way of speaking. And if somebody's a really good speaker over there, at least for me. So if I meet a family member that's a good speaker, like your mother, for instance, she's very clear because she was coming to me. Now, she didn't identify herself right away as your mother, okay? But she was with me when I was drying my hair and stuff today, okay? So she was with me before I sat down with you. Okay. And I was actually a little hesitant or reluctant to even start talking about that with you, if you could tell, just because I know that she's strong enough where she's got a lot more to say to you. And once I start going, it'll just be like, I can't filter very easily. So I'm really holding back right now. So someone like her, okay, if you wanted to hear from somebody else, okay, say we were having a reading and you hadn't heard from a loved one that you wanted to hear from and you were sad and disappointed inside, but you didn't tell me. And then you're like, oh, I was really hoping to hear from somebody else as well. I wouldn't ask you who. I would say, don't tell me who. Okay. And then I would reach harder. What I mean is that I would ask her, I would reach for this person. I don't even know who I'm reaching for, just your intention of wanting to talk to somebody. Every time thus far, that works. And the person will come through. Sometimes the stronger person will help them to come through. They'll let them know, okay, this is how she works. Do you understand? This is how you can communicate with her. Every medium and psychic are we sort of work the same from my understanding, but we're all a little different. So some people are more audio, some people are more visual, some people are more physical, things like that. I get kind of all of them. I've been called a trifecta, like I've got the the medical, then also the intuitive, and then I also find missing people for families. So I'm able to do multiple genres within mediumship.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show, Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction.
We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
Caliburn Press, LLC is a Madison, Wisconsin-based publishing company owned and operated by Alan Ledden. Caliburn works with talented writers, artists, editors, and marketers throughout the United States, and you can find their books through their many imprints that include Damnation Books, Eternal Press, Malaferia Press, Ciento Sordida Publishing, and Spiro Publishing. Please visit their website at sites.google.com/site/Caliburn Press LLC/home or Google Caliburn Press to check out their growing list of titles on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and any other place fine books are sold.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.
I am a cancer patient, and I've gone through similar things. And I used to be afraid of death. And I'm not so much afraid of death as I'm afraid of losing what's familiar to me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you can do about death. You just have to give up control eventually and understand that you can only do the best you can.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
It just seems like a lot of what you do is to provide comfort to people, who've lost loved ones, who are facing that themselves, who face that uncertainty. And closing this out, since we could talk to you for hours. I'm afraid so. though we sort of get the cream off the top,
right?
In these short interviews. What is your message for people who fear death?
I too fear death. I'm human, even though I see the other side and I talk to people there. I mean, I'm not inept from fearing the actual process of dying, and I'm not inept from missing my loved ones who have crossed over, whom I don't see the same way as I see your people. Okay, so we're all human, we're all in this together. But what I can say is that you're surrounded by love, and you're surrounded by people there and here, people that you don't even know over there. Mm-hmm. And they're all holding you up. And honestly, the pain that you think you're going to feel, you'll feel it a little bit, but then they take it from you. Mm-hmm. They take it from you. And it doesn't matter if you believe in God or Buddha or nothing. It doesn't matter who you believe in, what your religious background is. You're being held up by the other side, and they're all together over there. It doesn't matter what age you are, what you've done. It's life after life. It doesn't end here. You go over to the other side, and you can still drink wine. If you like beer, they still have it there, you guys. I know it's
you're made, Phil.
I'm happy to hear that.
Okay? They got coffee, okay? They show up sometimes with wine, okay? They show up sometimes like this, okay? They miss some of the worldly things. It's a little bit different over there. Mm-hmm. But you can hug your loved ones again who are over there, okay? You can embrace them. Their cellular structure is different, Nothing in our body is touching. None of our cells are touching. Scientifically, we have space in between every cell. Mm-hmm. Just imagine your space in between your cells being dispersed a little further, but everything around you being that way, of course you can touch over there.
We're going to start stuff.
Right.
Worlds. Okay?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So don't fear nothingness. Don't be afraid that because you can't imagine just floating around in some heavenly cloudy space with nothing to worry about. That's almost scary to some people, because it's so unrealistic. It's like trying to imagine, unicorns and stuff existing. So
it's all about giving up control.
Yeah, it is.
It's all about giving up control and letting go of your ego and letting go of fear.
Right.
You're happy they have beer in heaven.
I'm happy.
I'm hoping
the other side.
I want Netflix.
I want Netflix.
Yeah, so they'll stream to get cable.
My cousin went to see a psychic a year or two ago, maybe something like that, and they did a whole room type of thing.
Yeah,
which I know you also do as well. And the medium, the psychic, pointed her out and said that your your mother and your grandmother and your husband who had died is around you. And they were and her mother, which is my aunt, was my mom's sister, was there, and they were talking about just a whole bunch of different things, a lot of things. And she pointed out that there was my aunt had a statue which my mom also had. There's two of them. She said there was two of them at one time. This is what the woman said to my cousin. One of them broke. She said one of them was broke when two teenagers were wrestling, and they broke it, and they tried to put it back together. And that's me and my friend 20 years ago. That's what we did. We actually knocked it over. It was a. I'm sorry to say, it was a Virgin Mary statue. It was huge. It was like 2 feet. It was 2 feet. And we were kids. We were like 18, 19, something like that. And we were wrestling in the dining room. And my mom had it. And we knocked into the cabinet. It went right over. The whole back broke out. And we sat there for 3 hours trying to glue it back together. And that's exactly what my cousin told me. And I was completely blown away. I couldn't believe it because nobody would know that. Nobody would know that, and she never spoke to this woman. Yeah, I absolutely was floored when she said that.
And this is what your relative remembers from the grave. It's not, I give you my love.
I know.
Or I want to see you do well. You broke my statue.
Well, I wasn't even there. It was just too
evidential. Yeah. So that would be what that would be evidential.
That's evidential.
Okay, so that's an event that they're bringing forward that nobody was there for.
Right.
But then they knew about it. Do you understand? So they're showing them that. So that can happen with future and current events as well.
So when my mom actually got, she kept it, okay, and then when my aunt passed away, we took hers and we just replaced it. So that's basically what happened. But yeah, that entire story was completely true, and I had no idea there was no way this woman could have known any of that, you know?
Yeah.
I was.
So it's interesting the amount of information that will come through, especially in like a family or group setting. Oh my gosh, there'll be so much information that comes through sometimes that you have to separate, or that I have to separate family members because it's so personal. And a lot of that information will be personal to a degree. It's for healing, okay? Like say somebody I know this is kind of a weird topic, but you know, I've had people come through and say, okay, like a woman had been molested by a family member or something. Yeah. Okay. And it was kept between just the two of them and never brought out. That person may have passed and come through and want forgiveness, but also just want to speak with them a little bit about it to get it out there so that they can talk about it and heal before they cross.
See, that's what I keep hearing is the thing that troubles the dead the most are secrets.
Unfinished business
secrets. Yeah. It's like stuff that never came out in life and they're desperate to get it out.
Right.
You know, if they were convicted for a murder they didn't do or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I had this one time. I went into US Cellular because my phone went out at work. My phone was not working, and I'm a mom, I'm a single parent, so I need this phone to, you know, be on all the time for my son. And you know, my phone just went out. I'm trying to fix it. I couldn't get it back to functioning properly. And I'm like, oh, geez, new phone. Go over to US Cellular, you know, and I go in there and the lady does the same thing that I've been doing for the last 30 minutes and it works for her. And I'm like, yeah, of course. She did like the magic touch. I'm going, okay. And all of a sudden I feel spirit. And I'm like, okay, I see what this was. This was to get me over here to talk to this lady. I mean, they'll set it up on the other side and they'll bring me places. They'll force me into places just so that I can meet with somebody and talk to them. So I start feeling somebody. And I'm like, you know, she's offering to talk to me about some other products. So I said, fine. The only reason I sat with her is because I felt spirit coming in. And I thought, how am I going to bring this up now to her, right? Now I'm going to really trip this girl out. So I went and sat at her desk and I said, by the way, I'm a medium and you have people with you. Would you want to know if they had a message for you? And she says, you're kidding me. You know, everybody reacted. Oh my God, you're kidding me. And so then she says, yes, okay, I want to hear. So a man came through. He gives me his name, okay, and his name was John. And he tells me that there's a man in prison for killing him, okay? And the man in prison that killed him was her brother. Oh. And then he tells me her brother has a 2-year-old daughter. And the 2-year-old daughter now has no father. But the whole thing is that the guy who's crossed over, who was shot, felt responsible for what he had done. Like they had this whole argument going on, okay, before he was shot. It was impulsive, which is, it doesn't make it right. Okay,
No,
I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying it doesn't make it right. It was impulsive. But the guy in spirit came through and he goes, I wasn't a good man in life. I sold a lot of drugs to a lot of kids. I sold, like really hard drugs. Like he was into some bad stuff. He was into the prostitution ring.
Wow.
This kind of stuff. But he comes over, right? And they meet in an alleyway and things got heated. And he ended up shooting the guy, which was horrible. But he goes, okay, well, he's been in jail now for a while and I want to get him out.
Okay.
He's like, I kind of deserved it thing.
Right.
Which is interesting because you talk about things being undone. That guy, he was killed by somebody and wanted that person out of jail.
Right.
And told me how to tell his sister, what to say and what to do to help her brother get out of jail sooner so that he could raise his daughter.
Right.
Because apparently this guy wasn't a really bad guy and, this is a horrible thing and, it shouldn't have happened, but he has a daughter out here and now the chain reaction is the daughter is going to grow up and have a lot of issues too if she doesn't have a dad. I mean, they all have different intentions over there, but sometimes they're that extreme.
Right. So. Well, thank you so much. We're out of time, but thank you so much for being on the show. And you have a website, right, where people can find you at?
www.thenextworldmedium.com.
Fantastic. So check that out. We'll have links up on the site at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. And we've been talking to Carolyn Clapper. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was really nice to meet you.
The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. They crawl all over your dirty snout, your chest.
My name is David Walton. I am a vocal performer for What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show. And I have carried the burden of a terrible secret. I am actually what is offensively called a ghost. For years now I have concealed my ectoplasmic existence from my friends and family, in fear of a common prejudice against ghosts, or what we like to call the disembodied. I have existed frightened of being discovered, unable to do physical acts that the embodied take for granted, such as walking a squirrel, or drinking a glass of vitamin E milk fresh squeezed from a whale. I grew depressed and even considered acts of self-harm or reincarnation, which is suicide for the disembodied. Such movies as Ghostbusters and its sequels drove my feelings of disenfranchisement, and I began looking for help, only to encounter painful exorcisms in the houses I haunted. Then I met two good people, it says here, Fox and Phil, at What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal. And they helped me take control of my own life. Now, it is my choice whether I wish to make phantom bounds in the night, appear at the foot of your bed in darkness, or make your walls bleed. If you are a disembodied person like I am, and you're living a lie, What Are You Afraid Of? Can help you too. They are on at 9 p.m. on Friday nights at Para-X Radio, leaving plenty of time for midnight haunting activities, and can be found on all major podcast services. Listen to their paranormal stories, interviews, humorous sketches and horror fiction to know that you are not alone. And if you are a member of the embodied, don't forget, you are only a single heart attack or tumour away from becoming one of us. This is David Walton. See you on the other side. Or as I call it, this side.
And that is the end of a perfect day.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
We close the show tonight with a new song from an old friend, Zapa, from Balpino Records. This is from his new album called Triangle. He's back again with a new release, Triangle, his most incredible album to date. With beautiful folk melodies, ghostly whispers, poetry, and deep longing, Triangle is a refined coalescence of everything Zapa has been working towards over the years. On What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Book, a major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox is a story in the Stargate anthology, Points of Origin, from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Mercy was recently released by Bloodbound Books. Fox is an active member of the Harvard Association. He's been published in hundreds of short stories and articles, and his motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas resides in the suburbs of Philadelphia and is an author and filmmaker. His screenplays have been produced into feature films such as False Face and Always from Darkness that are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.